Good morning. We're here today to announce 3 separate cases highlighting the ongoing threat posed by Chinese economic espionage and research theft in the United States. First, the arrest today of a Harvard University professor for lying about his participation in a Chinese foreign recruitment program. Second, this morning we have unsealed a separate indictment of a Chinese national working as a scientific researcher at Boston University who failed to mention on her visa application that she is also a lieutenant with the People's Liberation Army. Finally, this office has indicted another Chinese national for trying to smuggle vials of biological material out of the United States to China and lying about it to federal investigators. That defendant, whose entry to the United States had been sponsored by Harvard University, was a cancer researcher at a lab at the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. So, this morning, the FBI arrested Dr. Charles Lieber, the chair of the Department of Chemistry and Chemical Biology at Harvard University, for making false statements regarding his involvement in China's Thousand Talents Plan and his affiliation with the Wuhan University of Technology. The complaint alleges that Dr. Lieber signed a contract with the Chinese university in Wuhan and was paid up to $50,000 per month, plus up to $158,000 in living expenses, and awarded more than $1.5 million to set up a research lab at the Chinese school and work there on researching nanotechnology. Lieber also joined China's Thousand Talents Plan, according to the complaint, a Chinese government-run program designed to entice scientists and researchers in the United States to share their research expertise with China. At the same time, Dr. Lieber was receiving U.S. grant funds from the Department of Defense and the National Institutes of Health. National Institutes of Health spends up to $39 million a year funding medical research in the United States. Those programs required Dr. Lieber to disclose if he was working with, including receiving funding from, any foreign power. When questioned, Lieber hid his involvement with the Chinese entities, including specifically disavowing any connection to China's Thousand Talents Plan. Meanwhile, based on the complaint, it appears that China paid Lieber hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years for his involvement with the Chinese entities and for his work on research for Chinese gain. Also today, a federal grand jury indicted Yanqing Ye, a Chinese national, with lying on her J-1 visa application, making false statements to Customs and Border Protection, conspiracy, and being an unregistered agent of the People's Republic of China. According to court documents, Ye is a lieutenant in the People's Liberation Army, but she concealed her military connections while employed as a researcher at Boston University's Department of Physics, Chemistry, and Biomedical Engineering Center for Polymer Studies. The indictment alleges that a colonel in the People's Liberation Army and other military officers from the Chinese National University of Defense Technology gave Ye numerous assignments while she was in the United States, such as conducting research, assessing U.S. military websites, and sending documents and information back to China. In April 2019, Ye was questioned by customs officers at Logan Airport on her way to China. According to the indictment, she lied about her involvement with Chinese military projects. A border search of her electronic devices showed that Ye had compiled information for the People's Liberation Army about 2 U.S. residents with expertise in robotics and computer science. Lastly, last week this office indicted Zheng Zhaozhang, a Chinese national sponsored by Harvard University who was doing cancer research at the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. Zheng was charged with attempting to smuggle to Beijing vials of biological material, along with other research materials that he had stolen from the lab at the Beth Israel, where Zheng was working on cancer cell research. Before he boarded his flight, customs officers discovered 21 vials of biological material in a sock in his baggage. When confronted by the officers, Zheng initially lied and said he was not traveling with any biological or research materials. Chemistry, nanotechnology, polymer studies, robotics, computer science, biomedical research. This is not an accident or a coincidence. This is a small sample of China's ongoing campaign to siphon off American technology and know-how for Chinese gain. Recently, Attorney General Barr referred to China as this country's primary rival. Similarly, FBI Director Chris Wray recently told Congress that right now there is no country that poses a greater counterintelligence threat to the United States than China. Through the use of not only traditional intelligence officers, but academics, researchers, its own private citizens, China is engaged in a massive, long-term campaign to steal U.S. research and technology for its own uses. As demonstrated by these cases, on the academic side, the Chinese government uses partnerships and exchanges with U.S. schools and research institutions to access cutting-edge research and equipment. Obviously, most visiting Chinese academics and researchers are here to work in good faith in U.S. institutions, but some of them are not. Some number have been incentivized by the Chinese government, either through the use of money or other means, to gather U.S. research and smuggle it back to China. Because of the sheer scope of this threat, a year ago, the Attorney General created the China Initiative at the U.S. Department of Justice, designed to prioritize and aggressively prosecute Chinese economic espionage and theft of intellectual property. The cases we are announcing today are part of that effort. Boston is an especially attractive target for this kind of exploitation, and universities and research institutions and tech companies in this area must become sensitized to this threat. Our community benefits greatly from the diversity and talent of international visitors and our partnerships with foreign institutions, especially research institutions. But Chinese economic espionage and theft is a real and daily occurrence that we must begin to confront.
As the world struggles to contain the new virus, a new speculation from the Chinese scientists who believe it may have originated at a research facility not far from the Wuhan fish market. While they say more research needs to be done to find solid proof, such labs are known to contain disease-ridden animals, including hundreds of bats. Our Kim Hyo-sun with the details.
Amid the continued spread of the COVID-19 virus, there's rising speculation the virus could have originated from a government laboratory in Wuhan, rather than the widely held belief that it emerged from the city's Huanan seafood markets. Citing a report published by Chinese scientists, a Chinese-language newspaper published in Hong Kong, Mingpao, and the British daily The Mirror, explained Sunday that the Wuhan Center for Disease Control, or WHCDC, could have spawned the contagion in Hubei province. According to the report penned by Bo Tao Xiao and Lei Xiao of the South China University of Technology, the research lab, which is only 280 meters away from the Huanan seafood market, kept disease-ridden animals, including more than 600 bats. It stated that while it's plausible the virus was leaked from the lab and contaminated initial patients in this epidemic, more solid evidence is required through future study. The report also raised a possibility that the Wuhan Institute of Virology could have leaked the virus while it was carrying out tests involving Chinese horseshoe bats. Against such a backdrop, an article published by the Washington Times late last month is garnering attention as it raised the possibility that the disastrous outbreak could be the accidental result of biological weapons research. This comes as a renowned law professor at Tsinghua University in Beijing, Xu Jianren, is known to be missing after publicly condemning Chinese President Xi Jinping for failing to contain the spread of the virus at an early stage. He even added the condemnation could be the last message of his life. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
I am in Geneva today in Switzerland. In the next supermarket, as you can see, the shelves are empty. People have started packing up things to stock down in their houses as life stocks. To the drink sections, it's not all that much, but as you can see, it's almost empty. This supermarket is one of the It's going to be a shutdown in Switzerland. My name is Maxwell Acha.
That, of course, is all up in the air at this point due to the fear of the coronavirus. Now, at this point, organizers here on the ground say that the idea that this event could be canceled, postponed, or relocated is just as critical to preventing the further spread of the coronavirus here in Japan.
I'm in Istanbul, and this is one of...
When we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one, there are people dying. Oh, when it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon make a change. We all a part of God's great big family, and the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving.
There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. Well, send them your heart, so they know that someone cares, and their lives will be
Stronger and free, as God has shown us, by turning stone to bread. And so we all must lend a helping hand. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones to make a brighter day, so let's start giving. Oh, there's a choice we're making, we're saving our lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me.
When you're down and out, there seems no hope at all.
But if you just believe, there's no way we can fall.
Well, let's realize, oh, that a change can only come when we
Stand together as one. We are the children.
You have been in that hospital for nearly 2 weeks. How did this start for you?
Well, about 2 weeks ago, it started with a little tickle in my throat. I'm kind of a time fanatic, so I looked at my watch at exactly 8 o'clock on Monday night, and I was telling my friend, I got something stuck in my throat, it won't come out my throat, and it kind of just kept going. And about 2 hours later, at 10 o'clock, I had a cough, and now I'm telling him, dude, I went from a tickle to a cough in 2 hours. I'm getting the flu. And the next morning, I laid down, or I woke up from sleeping all night, and I woke up with body aches and what I thought was the flu.
And then what made you end up going to the hospital, Kevin?
Well, initially, that next day, I had a doctor's appointment just for a checkup. And I went in, and they looked at me, no tests, no nothing. They said, you got the flu, and they gave me Tamiflu. So I left the doctor's office, went to the CVS pharmacy, and the girls there, they usually go inside and pick all my medication up. But I told them, I said, look, I'm so sick, whatever kind of flu I got, you guys don't need to get it. And I got my Tamiflu through the window. So I go home, and 3 days later, they're telling me I'm supposed to feel better on the Tamiflu, but I feel 10 times worse. So I called a friend of mine, and his wife came over. She I wanted to take a shower because I hadn't been in a shower in 6 days. And she comes over, and I'm passed out in the shower. And basically, you know, she came in, she got me dressed, she told me you have pneumonia, and she took me to the hospital.
And I mean, look, it's incredible. It's incredibly lucky that you got there. And now, as I said, You've been there for nearly 2 weeks. And what are doctors telling you about where you are now? Just to make it clear, you're now looking at 2 weeks plus the 5+ days that you're talking about. And this has been a very, very long period of time that you've had this and been in incredibly difficult straits. So what are they telling you now?
Well, now they're telling me I'm going to make it. But to be quite frank with you, several doctors told me for 4 days when I first got here, you don't have the coronavirus, but we have to test you and we have to treat you like you had it. Well, some staff members did treat me like I had it. Other staff members were just consistently stuck with the fact that you have pneumonia. We've never seen this kind before, but you don't have the coronavirus. It's highly unlikely. You haven't been anywhere, which I hadn't. I do these things where I spend a lot of time alone, and I hadn't seen anybody else for like 10 days before I actually got sick. So they're telling me you're going to be fine as soon as the cultures come back. We're going to know what kind of pneumonia it is, and we're going to treat it. But you don't have the coronavirus. You don't have the same signs. You don't have the same symptoms. You don't have half of what you should have if it was the coronavirus. I said, okay. And then 2 days later, I got 2 doctors sitting in front of me, one of them with tears in her eyes. And I'm like, what's going on? And they said, we don't understand it, but you have the coronavirus. I'm like, you just told me for 3 days I don't have the virus. They said, well, we don't know what to do. I said, well, what's next? And they basically said, pray. I'm like, how do doctors tell you to pray? What are you going to do to fix me? There's nothing we can do. We have no treatment. There's nothing we can give you. It's your body. Your body has to fight it. And they left the room, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm getting ready to die. Well, just yesterday, the fever's been gone for 3.5, almost 4 days now. And yesterday they told me, the one doctor promised me, he'd tell me when I was out of the woods. And he said, you're out of the woods. The only problem is we have no clue why you got better. We have no clue what kind of pneumonia you had. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever for you to be sitting here.
Well, it is an incredible story and incredible for people to hear what people on the front lines, what those doctors are doing, right? Something they've never seen before, and they did everything that they absolutely could for you. Kevin, what do you say and look, let's be honest, many people are following what the government says, right? You see empty roads, you see empty subways, you see it across the country, but we don't see it everywhere, right? I don't know if you've seen the pictures. I'll show them again to people. Spring breakers crowding the shores in Florida. Many of those beaches still open. It's packed. What do you say? What is your message to people who don't take this seriously?
In the beginning, I was a little angry because I felt like I'm here dying and they're not taking it seriously. I'm as black as they come. We can get this. And it just amazes me how everybody's out there celebrating St. Patrick's Day. They're calling me the doomsday guy. A lot of them think that you guys are paying me to do these interviews, and they're doubting me. And instead of me getting angry like I had been, I'm telling people, I hope to God you're right. I hope you don't get it and nobody that you know get it, because I don't have the sniffles version. I don't have the sore throat. I don't have the little body ache. I had the version of this that kills you, and there was absolutely nothing they could do about it. These people have to take this serious. I know you're going to be inconvenienced for a while with social distancing. However, do you want to be socially dead 6 months from now? The same people that are going to miss you for a couple of months are going to miss you forever when you didn't take this seriously.
Everybody's gone, and like I said, there's been hundreds and thousands of people coming in and out, and everybody bumping into each other, and now there's nobody to bump into.
Her husband worked at a hotel here up until a few hours ago.
I went into work this morning, and they gave us our walking papers. As of midnight last night, the governor decided to be a little more stricter as far as businesses, and they closed down everything as far as hotel industry and so forth.
At the entrance of the city, this iconic sign is usually overrun by tourists, but now locals can take advantage of their absence. TJ Habashi is a dentist in the area, but his office has seen a drop in business as well.
I laid off most of my employees. I have 6, so at this point I only have 2, and we'll see what happens by next week.
Beyond the neon lights of the Strip, it's impossible for some of the most vulnerable in the community to follow the confinement orders. Dozens of homeless come here daily for a hot meal. To ensure less contact between people, the lunch line has been replaced by takeout boxed lunch, and more people show up every day.
We were serving probably about 250. We're probably serving now about anywhere between 450 and 500. Well, a lot of people have lost their jobs.
Residents in Las Vegas say they are ready to face this unprecedented change, the worst the city has experienced since the financial crisis in 2008. But they also know it will be a long time until the entertainment capital of the world returns to its former glory.
Unfortunately, there's no vaccine currently available to protect against COVID-19. Wearing a surgical mask is not recommended because the general risk of getting COVID-19 in these settings is so low. As always, careful hand washing is the key, and it should be done with soap or alcohol-based hand sanitizers and scrubbing. Also, avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. This area is known as your T-zone, and it's a common entry point for viruses into the body.
We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones to make a brighter day. So let's start giving. Oh, there's a choice we're making. We're saving our lives. It's true, we make a better day. Just you and me. When you're down and out, and there seems no hope at all. But if you just believe, there's no way we can fall. Make a brighter day.